Hello Earth neighbors, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about a tragic and deadly incident that took place in the good old Midwestern state of Ohio, which is located in the mainland of the United States, also affectionately known as the sunken place, or at least it is to me. So I am hoping to offer a perspective that I'm not seeing in the media. Stick around and we'll dig in.
Here behind me is where a scam call turned deadly, and I'm going to step out of the way here so you can get a look here. The man who lives here is accused of shooting and killing an Uber driver. He now faces a murder charge and potential other charges. According to reports, authorities say William Brock had been receiving multiple threatening scam calls the morning of March 25th. The calls were concerning an incarcerated relative, and Brock was told to meet at the courthouse to pay a ransom of $12,000 in bail money, or they would kill him and his relative. Around the same time of the call, Loletha Hall received directions from the same person or an accomplice, instructing her to go to Brock's home to pick up a package for delivery. Dashcam video from Hall's car shows her arrive to Brock's home to pick up that package. According to reports from the Clark County Sheriff's Office, Brock allegedly had a gun. This video appears to confirm that. The incident report says Brock allegedly took Hall's phone and wouldn't let her leave, and when she tried to go, authorities say Brock then shot Hall. They started fighting, and he shot her 2 more times. Authorities received a call from Brock saying he had shot someone on his property because they were trying to rob him. When units arrived, they found Hall with multiple gunshot wounds, and Brock was bleeding from his head. Hall was flown to Kettering Hospital in Dayton, where she died. Reports say while officials were on scene, Brock's landline phone kept ringing, and when one officer picked it up, the man on the other line said he was an officer. And the real officer explained what happened and asked the caller to meet, and he agreed, but never showed up. We reached out to Uber, and they responded with this statement saying in part, quote, "There is no other way to describe this incident than a horrific tragedy. Our hearts continue to be with Loletha's loved ones as they grieve her sudden loss. We have been in contact with law enforcement and remain committed to supporting their investigation." End quote. Uber also went on to say the account of the individual who ordered the Uber trip has been banned. The sheriff's office is also reminding residents to be extra cautious and that no law enforcement agency or court will call you and demand for bail money over the phone. That goes for any other court functions as well. Reporting in Springfield, Grace Hewitt, 2 News.
Okay, at this point, I would like to show you the video that is not being shown very much. I found this video, but I found more videos like the one I just showed you where you don't really hear from Miss Hall enough. And when I play this video, it's disturbing. And I don't know if they are not playing it because they're like, oh, we don't want to, disturb the audience. Or if it's what I suspect, which is that they're painting this narrative like, oh, 2 people were scammed. They're trying to make it so that, oh, it's just a tragic story. It is a tragic story, no doubt about it. But one part of this story is more tragic than the other. Unquestionable. Miss Hall is the biggest victim here because she's not here anymore. This man who aggressively hunted her down, tortured her, shot her several times, and eventually killed her is not a victim. And at one point he was, but it changed. That's what I'm proposing. I said I was going to save that for the commentary, but it's just, I can barely contain myself. I was so pissed off I could barely make this video. I kept sitting with this and I was making my outline as I normally do, giving myself talking points, thinking it out. And I was just getting so just raging inside every time I thought about the fear that she had to endure. And this face is the last face she saw on this earth. I'm disgusted. And I'm angry because he's so old. Even if he goes to jail for this, I mean, how many years can we expect to get out of him, you know? So, and he may even die before he ever make it to court, you know? So that alone just ticks me off. But let me show you this video because I want you to hear it. I want you to hear what the media is not letting you hear. This particular network clearly is giving us more. But so many of them, all you have to do is go out there and search for yourself. So many of them cut this part out. So I want you to hear it here.
Don't do that, please don't. Don't, sir. Please don't. Over. It's right up there. You can see it. You can see it. You can look, sir. Please. Just look.
I would like to take a moment to draw your attention. You may have to rewind to hear it, but I would like to draw your attention to a few things that stood out to me. Number one, Miss Hall is clearly a very good person, because even in what had to be the most terrifying moment in her whole life, she still is calling this man sir. She's still saying please. She's still trying to be reasonable with him. I mean, I imagine that she must have thought that she pulled up on someone with Alzheimer's and a gun. Now, mind you, I'll talk more about that in my commentary about what I think his defense is going to be and all of the sneaky, creepy, slimy ways that people try to avert justice in this country or in this crimisphere that we live in. We'll get into that later. But it stood out to me how he's basically walking her down aggressively. This is not a person who's afraid. Did he look afraid to you? I only saw one person who looked scared, and that's the person who doesn't have a gun. That's the person who don't know what the hell is going on. That's Miss Hall. So this man is, thank God for this dash cam. Thank God for that technology, because it is crisp, it's clear, we can see, we can hear. Thank you, Lord. Because I can imagine this will go down like so many cases that we have seen where it amounts to Black Lives Don't Matter. And I know people may wonder, why are you making this a race thing? I'll get into it. Oh, I'll explain myself and I'll make my points. And then we can, let's say discuss it, later. But I have my reasons. I'm not just pulling that out of nowhere. Yeah, it just disturbed me, the fact that she is trying so hard to talk reason into him and he's just not hearing anything she has to say. So this does not, I believe that this man went from, because I was about to say, I cut myself off. I was about to say that this may have began as a scam and a victim story for William Brock. But by the time we get to this dash cam footage that we're watching right now, he's not a victim anymore. He is a angry, homicidal murderer. At this point, he is just a vigilante with a gun. That's all I see. That's all I hear. If you listen to his words, if you see what he's doing, this is not a person who's afraid. You've got your gun cocked. You have your finger on the trigger. You are saying you're not leaving. All of these things we hear. It's just insane. It's absolutely insane. And this is the part where I feel like we waste our money in litigation or going to court. Mind you, I do believe in due process. I'm not a vigilante or an anarchist. I do believe in that. But some cases should be expedited. Stop wasting taxpayer dollars this man actually pled not guilty. And it's not that I am a person who's not educated on our criminal justice system. I know that that's basically saying not guilty is just like, okay, we're starting the process. Like you start there. It's playing poker, I guess, with the state. But I think that it is innately a terrible system where even when you did something, you're supposed to say, oh, I didn't do it. It's just very, just like I said, intrinsically wrong. But that's the system. That's how it is. Okay, so I want to show you a little bit more related to that incident, what happened in the house, what happened after the police arrived, because then my commentary will make more sense. So let me go ahead and get into those clips as well. And then we'll really dig into my commentary and thoughts on this case.
Released body camera video shows officers confronting this Ohio homeowner who allegedly shot and killed an innocent Uber driver after getting caught up in a phone scam.
He was after blood money.
81-year-old William Brock appearing exasperated and confused as he explained a threatening phone call he says he got earlier that day from a man demanding $12,000.
It's got his name and phone number and what the ransom was.
But the Clark County Sheriff's Office says that phone call was a scam, one that Uber driver Loletha Hall was unknowingly wrapped up in when she was requested through the app to pick up a package at Brock's home. Chilling video from that Uber's dash cam capturing Brock pointing a handgun at Hall as she backs away in terror. Brock told investigators he thought Hall was working with the caller demanding money from him. Investigators say Brock took Hall's phone and stopped her from leaving before shooting her 3 times, pausing and talking to her between each shot. Officers on the scene calling that scam phone number back.
May I ask who I'm talking to?
Yeah, this is the officer speaking.
Okay, what officer?
Yes.
No, I need to know what officer, sir.
You're going to be in trouble.
Brock was arrested 2 weeks after the March 25th shooting and has pleaded not guilty to felony murder. NBC News attempts to reach Brock or an attorney were unsuccessful. Uber releasing a statement saying in part, "This is a horrific tragedy and our hearts continue to be with Loletha's loved ones as they grieve. We have been in contact with law enforcement and remain committed to supporting their investigation." Adding the account used to request Hall has been banned. Tonight, Hall being remembered as a loving sister, mother, and friend.
All right, Stephen Romo joins us now in studio. Stephen, this story is so sad on every front. We know the shooter, who was elderly, was arrested. What about the person behind the phone scam?
Yeah, a lot of people want to know about that person who sort of started all of this. The scammers have not been publicly identified, and no arrests have been announced on that front whatsoever for the scam. The FBI is saying that they are aware of this happening, but they're not able to say per policy whether or not they're involved in the investigation. But Clark County, Ohio, the sheriff's office there does have something on their website warning residents that this is going on, that there are phone scams going on in the area. Of course, this is not likely what the scammers were intended to happen, but definitely people want them caught.
We report on phone scams all the time. I've never seen one escalate like this one did. It's terrible. All right, Stephen, we thank you.
I don't know about you, but I can surely appreciate what that anchor person had to say about I've never seen anything escalate to this point, because that's the part that is absolutely criminal. It's insane. There's no excuse just because you're an old person. It begs a logical person to wonder what happened to calling 911. Why did you shoot her? It's a woman, for God's sake. And this is the part where I really, really, really have to say, he didn't even see her as a human. No. At this point, he's just absolutely deaf, dumb, and blind with anger. Not fear, anger. Anger and revenge. Because nothing about this is logical, and I'll get into the illogical aspects of his decision to kill this woman. That was his choice.
Last month, reporting he had shot someone on his property who he said was trying to rob him. 2 News reporter Grace Hewitt watched the body camera in full. She walks us through what happened moments after authorities arrived on scene.
Body-worn camera footage shows the moment Clark County Sheriff's deputies arrived at William Brock's home on March 25th.
Stay by 1 second. Are you the shooter?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna pat you down, okay?
Brock is accused of shooting and killing Loletha Hall, an Uber driver who investigators say came to Brock's home to pick up a package. You see officers pat Brock down. Here you'll notice a wound on his head. Authorities later determined Brock was hurt during the altercation with Hall. Now law enforcement are putting the pieces together. They say this all stemmed from a violent scam call targeting older citizens like Brock.
Nephew was in jail, and he needed to bring $12,000 downtown. The next thing you know, he tells him that he's got the $12,000. She shows up here and tries to take his $12,000, so he shot her.
Sounds like a scam.
It is a scam. That he's got $12,000 in cash in there.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
It's the same play that they've been using on everybody.
Yeah.
It's always elderly people.
Yeah.
Authorities then start combing through Brock's residence, collecting evidence and taking photographs. In the back, on the counter, you can see law enforcement counting the $12,000 in bail money Brock was referencing. At the same time, medics were waiting for care flight to take Hall to the hospital, where she was pronounced dead. While authorities were on scene, Brock's landline kept ringing, and when a detective answered, she realized it was the scammer on the other end.
Hello?
Yes, who's this?
May I ask who I'm talking to?
Yes, this is the officer speaking.
Okay, what officer?
Yes.
No, I need to know what officer, sir.
You're gonna be in trouble.
Okay. Let me ask you this. The female you sent over here, you know who she is?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm gonna be there, give me 20 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Where is the gentleman that was there?
Huh?
The gentleman that was there.
Okay.
Where is he?
He's talking to us, so I need you to come.
Okay, thank you. I'll be there.
In the call, the scammer says he'll meet with police to turn himself in, but he never showed up. Reporting in Springfield, Grace Hewitt, 2 News.
I am embarrassed for Detective Cruz. You thought that scammer was just going to pull up and say, oh yeah, I'm turning myself in. I make a living extorting old people. And this one clearly has gotten out of hand because the real cops have shown up. So yeah, I'm just going to drive myself in because I feel bad about what I've been doing. Like, how long has she been a detective? I'm just asking for a friend, because this could have been played so differently. Like, was there no other, like, they knew they were showing up for a shooting. Okay. And I do realize that they have not collected all the facts at that point, I'm sure. But if they had the story, which she clearly had because she answered the phone and realized it was the scammer calling back. So you would think that you would come up with a plan like, I'm not even a cop. And I know that I will want to see this play out. And I will be there to meet him with the package. So it's so annoying to me, and this is the reason why I have no confidence in getting justice for Ms. Hall. Now, mind you, he's going to jail. He's going to prison, for sure. He's already took a visit to jail, but he's going to prison. No doubt about it. More than that, I do have doubts about it because I never trust in this here crazy justice system. Never. And especially because they're going to pick a jury of their peers, not our peers, but their peers. And I'll talk about that later, about what that's likely going to look like. And again, why I say I have no confidence in how this is going to turn out, even though I think that this is not a case that you can easily just be like, oh, well, it's a terrible tragedy. We're just going to, let him go home and take his guns away. No. Nope, it's way too serious for that. I would hope. But I just had to stop just for a minute. I'm going to get back to letting you hear some stories because they have, if you notice, they kind of show you progressively a little bit more details about the circumstances. So let that continue to play for you.
Uber shooting that shocked the nation. Now we are seeing body cam video of police arriving on the scene. Both the 81-year-old man and the Uber driver he fatally shot had fallen victim to a phone scam. And as Jim Murray reports, the new video shows cops getting the alleged scammer on the phone.
May I ask who I'm talking to?
Just released police body cam footage reveals chilling new insight into the scam call that led to the fatal shooting of an innocent Uber driver and the arrest of this elderly man who told cops he thought he was being threatened.
Are you injured anywhere?
Terrifying video from the Uber driver's dash cam shows 81-year-old William Brock pointing a gun at the 61-year-old driver. He's just shot her in the leg. Loletha Hall frantically tries to explain she's there to pick up a package, but the homeowner shoots her 2 more times, killing her.
They threatened to kill me.
Brock, who sustained a cut to his head, tells police that a scammer had called him, threatening his family, demanding $12,000. He was told that a female driver would be coming by to pick up the money. Cops say the Uber driver was completely unaware of the scam. Incredibly, while officers were responding to the scene at Brock's home in South Charleston, Ohio, cops say the scammer called the man's home again. A detective picked up the call.
May I ask who I'm talking to?
Yes, this is the officer speaking.
Okay, what officer?
Yes.
No, I need to know what officer, sir.
You're going to be in trouble.
Okay. Let me ask you this. The female you sent over here, you know who she is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, she's been in an accident. And this is actually an officer. It's Detective Cruz with the Clark County Sheriff's Office.
He hangs up, but calls back as the sinister plot unravels.
Is she okay?
No, she's not doing well.
What hospital is she
I'm not going to tell you that until you meet me.
Police say the suspected scammer agreed to meet them, but never showed up. Brock was arrested for murder. The Uber driver, Loletha Hall, was remembered at this funeral service by her only son.
We had a bond like no other, but she was also my best friend. You are the best mom that anyone could ask for.
Brock has pled not guilty.
Did you guys notice how William Brock, when he is on the hospital gurney with his head wrapped up, how he's smirking? The same smirk that I saw when they asked him to stand up so they could frisk him, like when the police door is open, he's sitting down and then he gets up. Or more than that, I think he was getting frisked. Okay, like they was patting him down. Did you see the smirk on his face? It's such a devious, deceitful smirk. Because everybody hears 81 and they automatically assume elderly, old, dementia, confused. You know what I mean? You fell for a scam. That's the part that I think is a whole farce. I really do. And I'll tell you why later. But let's carry on.
Stop. Stop. Well, I'll call 911. Stop. No, you're not leaving. Why? No, you're not. You're not leaving in one hole. Stop. 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 Get in there. Help! Help! Help!
She's begging for her life. He calls 911.
Just in case they decide to later make a claim that he has, onset of dementia, confusion, Alzheimer's, anything of the sort that may be considered, something we find in elderly people. I'm not sure that being old is a defense in the law. I can't say I'm familiar with such a defense. And when said old person has the capability, proven that he knows how to dial 911 because we know that he does so after he tortures Miss Hall by shooting her, not, in defense, pow, 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 really quick, but talk to her through the shooting. Pow, and cripples her, right? So she can't get away. So he's kidnapping her. And he takes her phone from her, which amounts to aggravated robbery because he has a gun. He has her at gunpoint. He has shot her and took her phone and is keeping her from being able to leave, keeping her from being able to call for help. Of course, she's shouting help, but she's in the middle of nowhere. No one's going to hear her unless there's somebody in the house, which we don't see any signs that the cops said there was anybody else there at the house. So I said I was going to save this for my commentary, but this scene, you see how every time I watch a clip of this, it just sparks something in me. It's just like, ooh, the injustice, the unfairness of it all, to have somebody snatched off of this earth experience over a misunderstanding, over the confusion or the anger. Because I said I was going to save this for the commentary section. Okay, let's go ahead. We're almost done with these clips. Let's carry on with the clips.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm on.
Do we want to know? Hello?
Yes, hello?
Hello?
Yes, who's this?
May I ask who I'm talking to?
Yeah, this is the officer speaking.
Okay, what officer?
Yes.
No, I need to know what officer, sir.
You're going to be in trouble.
Okay, let me ask you this. The female you sent over here, you know who she is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, she's been in an accident. And this is actually an officer. It's Detective Cruz with the Clark County Sheriff's Office. I need you to dial a number, get this number so I can explain more to you. Hello? Hello?
If you'd like to make a call, please hang
Well, they know that she's been in an accident.
Before we move on, am I the only one who sensed that Detective Cruz, as she identified herself, that she believes that Miss Hall is a part of the scam? The part that annoys me, and don't gaslight me in the comments about race not being a factor in all of this, but the same way that William Brock, only saw a criminal when he saw Loletha Hall, I will also say I'm going to meet you there and raise you that even the police have this tendency to believe and or listen to initially the person who is left alive. It's like they incentivize them to kill people, to silence them, because their stories always end up being the story that they believe. Because, like, for instance, when we saw the clip of the other female officer, when she is saying, yeah, she came and, requested the $12,000 and he shot her.
Nephew was in jail and he didn't bring $12,000 downtown. The next thing you know, he tells him that he's got the $12,000. She shows up here and tries to take his $12,000, so he shot her.
She said that so matter of fact, like, yeah, that sounds like a rational thing to do. Are you crazy? Are you crazy too? TOO? Because I don't think she meant it that way, but I just was so annoyed by the body language of her shrugging her shoulder as if to say, that sounds logical. Maybe that's not what she was thinking at all. But let me tell you, the body language and her saying that on camera, and they chose to release that, it was annoying. It pissed me off so bad. Just like this lady who says, like, basically, well, he knows that the lady is hurt. Like, basically, like saying, like, well, his accomplice, now he knows. So that was the angle. It tells you, it's proof of the bias that everybody will gaslight minorities into saying doesn't exist. oh no, racism is a thing of the past. And you see how her immediate assumption was that Loletha was working with this guy. And if you're saying like, well, she doesn't know at this point, you know what? She doesn't know at this point. So why wouldn't she reserve judgment? The same way she's believing William Brock that somebody threatened his life. How do we know that anybody threatened his life? The videos that they showed us online that they've been, let's say purporting and, putting this narrative out there have never played any video that the scammer says, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your nephew. Everybody's just running with the fact that this white man said that that's what he said. How do we know that? And mind you, maybe the police have him on video threatening this man. Maybe, because we see that they are talking to the scammer. But the thing that I am tripping off of is the fact that everybody ran with that. Everybody took that because, listen here, you can do a scam. You can piss somebody off. You can ask them for stuff that you shouldn't be, like asking somebody for $12,000. But you know what else can happen? A person can become pissed off and angry, and they can exaggerate the severity of the call because they're pissed off and angry. That's all I'm saying. Now, mind you, like I said, conspiracy theory, allegedly, I am just not quick to say that he ever was threatened, meaning his life was ever threatened, because I'm telling you, if somebody was trying to pull a Liam Neeson Taken on a family member of mine, I know for a fact that even if I have a gun, what if they have more guns? What if they already have, positioned themselves in an ambush stance outside of my house? What if they have a gun to my nephew's head? His actions, and this is part of my commentary, so we're just going to put it out there now. His actions tell me that he didn't think that his nephew was in danger. No. Maybe initially he did. When he pulled the $12,000 out, I even wonder, see, this is commentary. This is part of my commentary. I even wonder if his nephew or somebody close to him knows that he has that kind of money, because I looked it up. The median household income in South Charleston, Ohio, is $47,000. The median household income for people across the whole United States is $69,000. Okay, so this place is below the median income of the average household in America. So what I'm saying is, who in the hell would know that Mr. Brock has $12,000 cash? You didn't get $12,000 out the bank in a small town. You can't even get $12,000 without making a request for it, because I believe anything over $10,000 triggers the feds. They have to report it. And I don't know that all banks have that on hand to give you cash without notice. $10,000? I'm not sure. I don't deal with that kind of money in cash. I'm just saying, I don't think he went to the bank for that money. And if he didn't go to the bank for that money, who in the hell knew that he had $12,000 in that house? And how much more is in that house? I'm sure those cops are going to find out, the ones that was counting that money. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. Maybe. Well, we'll never know. But I'm just making the point that there's a lot that doesn't line up about this story. And I know that's the reason why he has felony murder charges on him. Yeah, I'm giving that away too. Well, I'm just getting right into the commentary. Might as well. What's the point of delaying it at this point? But I wanted to get through those clips, so thank you for your patience. And I'm trying to stay focused so this isn't so all over the place. And mind you, I do have an outline, and I tried to organize it so it makes some sense. So let me get to it. Let me get to my outline so that I can have some order, and it's not just bouncing all over the place like it feels in my head right now. Okay, guys, I am ready to dig into my commentary officially, because I have some notes, and so bear with me as I try to make it through this. Okay, so one of the things that I noted on here is that William J. Brock sounded drunk. Let's go ahead and play the sample because I don't want you to think I'm just grabbing out of thin air. Let's take a listen.
I shot her in the shoulder.
Why did you do that?
Because I was threatened that she was going to come and kill me.
The county sheriff's office says Brock was the subject of a scam call concerning an incarcerated relative, which turned to threats and a demand for money. Police say Hall, the driver, was...
Okay, what do you think? Okay, so with that presumption that I've come up with, I want to know about his background. I want a toxicology done on him. I want the cops to do their damn job, okay? So the next note that I have on here is, can we talk about how Miss Hall has a limp and looks frail and unassuming while, and I noted this on here, Dirty Harry, which is William Brock, is aggressive and walking her down. He's angry and out for revenge. Yes, I absolutely believe that this shifted. I alluded to it earlier. You know, I believe that initially he believed the scam. We hear him talk to the police and say that at one point the scammers were saying that his nephew had a car wreck and now he's in jail. He needs $20,000 for bail. But then he says that it shifted. It shifted to almost saying that now the police is going to hold your nephew for ransom? Huh? Like any logical person would be like, this sounds like bullshit. Okay? And just because you're 81 don't mean, if anything, I expect for that same type of irritation. Well, irritation sounds like too light of a word for what he did to her. As much as this angered him, upset him, or he wanted to protect his family, the same family that he couldn't pick up the damn phone and call to see where his nephew is at. And which damn nephew is it? You know what I mean? Which nephew is it? You know, I want to know who is it. And then the other part that I thought was totally illogical was that, for him to, and mind you, I heard the cops basically, you know, trying to make that case for him, I think, in the media, which is that he's going to, you know, do the whole stand your ground thing. So because I think that they're going to try, his lawyers will try to use that as his defense, let's take a look at what Ohio says about standing your ground in that state.
Section 2901.05 Burden of Proof Reasonable. Doubt Self-Defense. Effective April 6, 2021. Latest legislation. Senate Bill 175, 133rd General Assembly. Every person accused of an offense is presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and the burden of proof for all elements of the offense is upon the prosecution. The burden of going forward with the evidence of an affirmative defense, and the burden of proof by a preponderance of the evidence for an affirmative defense other than self-defense, defense of another, or defense of the accused residence presented as described in Division B(1) of this section is upon the accused. B(1) A person is allowed to act in self-defense, defense of another, or defense of that person's residence. If, at the trial of a person who is accused of an offense that involved the person's use of force against another, there is evidence presented that tends to support that the accused person used the force in self-defense, defense of another, or defense of that person's residence, the prosecution must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the accused person did not use the force in self-defense, defense of another, or defense of that person's residence, as the case may be. 2. Subject to Division B(3) of this section, a person is presumed to have acted in self-defense or defense of another when using defensive force that is intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm to another if the person against whom the defensive force is used is in the process of unlawfully and without privilege to do so entering, or has unlawfully and without privilege to do so entered, the residence or vehicle occupied by the person using the defensive force. 3. The presumption set forth in Division B(2) of this section does not apply if either of the following is true. A. The person against whom the defensive force is used has a right to be in or is a lawful resident of the residence or vehicle. B. The person who uses the defensive force uses it while in a residence or vehicle and the person is unlawfully and without privilege to be in that residence or vehicle. 4. The presumption set forth in Division B(2) of this section is a rebuttable presumption and may be rebutted by a preponderance of the evidence, provided that the prosecution's burden of proof remains proof beyond a reasonable doubt as described in Divisions A and B(1) of this section. C. As part of its charge to the jury in a criminal case, the court shall read the definitions of reasonable doubt and proof beyond a reasonable doubt contained in Division E of this section. D. As used in this section. 1. An affirmative defense is either of the following. A defense expressly designated as affirmative. B. A defense involving an excuse or justification peculiarly within the knowledge of the accused, on which the accused can fairly be required to adduce supporting evidence. 2. Dwelling means a building or conveyance of any kind that has a roof over it, and that is designed to be occupied by people lodging in the building or conveyance at night, regardless of whether the building or conveyance is temporary or permanent or is mobile or immobile. As used in this division, a building or conveyance includes, but is not limited to, an attached porch, and a building or conveyance with a roof over it includes, but is not limited to, a tent. 3. Residence means a dwelling in which a person resides either temporarily or permanently or is visiting as a guest. 4. Vehicle means a conveyance of any kind, whether or not motorized, that is designed to transport people or property. E. Reasonable doubt is present when the jurors, after they have carefully considered and compared all the evidence, cannot say they are firmly convinced of the truth of the charge. It is a doubt based on reason and common sense. Reasonable doubt is not mere possible doubt, because everything relating to human affairs or depending on moral evidence is open to some possible or imaginary doubt. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is proof of such character that an ordinary person would be willing to rely and act upon it in the most important of the person's own affairs.
Okay, I don't know about you, but I don't see Homeboy being able to pull that one off. I don't see it lining up. I don't see it lining up for him. You know, I don't see it for you, sir, that you're going to be able to claim that because you weren't in your house and you weren't in your vehicle. Actually, you came out like the aggressor. You did become the aggressor. And that's why I keep on, and I will probably keep on repeating myself because I mean it, which is that I believe that initially when they called him to extort him for $12,000, I believe that he believed some of that scam. I believe he took the money out when he believed the scam. I believe that by the time they said they were showing up, I believe that he shifted from being afraid for his nephew or believing the scam to saying, I am about to fuck them up. I do. I seriously believe that he said, I don't think he believed, because you can't have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways, sir. You cannot tell me or convince me that you think your nephew is in duress, that he is being held captive for $12,000 for ransom, okay? And now you're going to kill an accomplice, but you have not got your nephew back. Bullshit. I call bullshit on that. It's not lining up, sir. And you know what? Let me tell you this. I don't know if William Brock is the village idiot. He could have been that when he was 27 or 21. So I don't think he gets an out because he's old and whatever else they are assuming about his cognitive abilities. Because I think that it is an assumption to say that just because he is chronologically 81, that he has any cognitive decline. They are not his doctors, but yet the media automatically said, oh, he's 81 and he fell for the scam. Therefore, there are people who are not 81 who have fallen for scams, telephone scams, romance scams, all types of scams. Okay. So he's not getting it out as much as and this is the part that irritates the hell out of me. And again, those people who want to, let's say, not be understanding, they refuse to want to understand the bias, the implicit or explicit biases within themselves or within others, is that they refuse to see how much just someone giving you the benefit of doubt, how far it goes. It can be the difference between you being alive and not. It could be the difference between you going to jail and not. Like, it is everything in this country. And they don't even realize the privilege of having that. William Brock has definitely been afforded that, as I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about how the cops are taking him at his word that his life was threatened. Okay? Like, they have been repeating that to us, the public, as if there's some proof that, or did he record his calls with this scammer? Maybe there is proof. But let's just say that without them giving us as much as they've given us, I would assume that they would have also played the recording of them threatening William Brock. So I just want to talk about some of these quotes that came out of those videos, which is, I'll shoot you in the head. That's a quote by William J. Brock. That's what he said to her. After he had already shot her in the leg, he said, I'll shoot you in the head. Let's also clear up another thing that is super important. That's one of the things that I was referring to when I said the media got it wrong. The media got it wrong, and they're not talking about this, which is, I heard 5 shots. Did you? No, go back. No. Take your time. Take your time. I'll be waiting here. I'll just have a cup of hot chocolate in the comments cafe and go back and listen. I heard 5 shots. The media have repeatedly been saying 3 shots. Who knows that without the autopsy? That is 3 shots. Maybe 3 shots hit her, but I heard 5 shots. And if he's a bad aim, okay, that's fine. But that means that is 5 times that he has purposely tried to kill this woman and actually end up doing so. So I don't know about you, but I heard more than what they said as to the number of shots that were fired. Maybe that's all that hit her. I don't know where they got that number from because I heard 5 shots. And I brought this up earlier when she keeps saying, please, sir, please don't shoot me anymore. Please don't shoot me anymore. That is a quote of Mrs. Loletha Toland-Hall. Okay? She said, please don't shoot me anymore. She said, please, let's talk. That's another quote. At one point, I saw in one of the captions, the subtitles, that's what it's called. The subtitles for one of the news clips that I played. They said that Miss Hall said bye. I didn't think that I heard bye. I thought I heard why. Because when he was telling her, you're not leaving, I heard her say why. The bottom of the screen, the caption says that she said bye. You guys comment below and tell me what you think you heard at that part.
No, you're not leaving. Bye. No, you're not. You're not leaving in my home. Stop. Yeah, stop. No, you're not leaving. Bye. No, you're not. You're not leaving in my home. Stop. Yeah.
For the people that will say, here we go again with them playing the race card. Here we go again. They blame everything on race. Well, you know what? I personally don't feel, I will address it, but I don't really have the patience for, nor the time or the energy to really spend too much time on the people that say things like, asinine things like, I don't see color. I assume that these are the same type of people that would refute the fact that race doesn't play a role in some of the happenings that happen in this Crimisphere. Because if race was not a factor, then tell me why William Brock is quoted saying, and let me quote, some black woman when he's talking to 911. That's what he said. So he saw race. He most definitely did, because he told the 911 operator that it was some black woman. You know, now if he's a police officer and you're just trying to give a description, man, perhaps he was. We'll give him the benefit of doubt. That perhaps he was giving a benefit, giving her, giving some description. But I don't see that it really mattered. Because it's not like he was letting her go. He had shot and disabled her. Okay? Okay. I will have to say one of the most satisfying quotes from that terrible and tragic exchange is, "She busted my head on the door." That's what William Brock said about Loletha, Miss Hall. Thank you, Lord, that she got her lick back. A little bit. Yeah, because I saw that blood upside his head. And I wish she had busted worse. Knocked him out so that she could have got away. I wish, God willing, that could have happened. But obviously, it didn't go that way. And I'm going to go back to some of the questions that I ask, which is, why not call 911? You still, I didn't hear one cop say, did you call your nephew? Did you call your nephew's mother? Did you call anybody that could have confirmed if your family was safe? Did you call, why wouldn't you call 911 if you thought your whole family was not safe? And he clearly, his whole family don't live on his acres, on his land, because otherwise I think they would have been there and been in the footage when the cops arrived. So do he think that by killing one of the accomplices that will constitute safety? You see where this story falls apart? I mean, it really does. And some may say, oh, well, he's old, he's not putting the pieces together right. Well, he put the bullets together in that gun and knew how to pull that, trigger back. He knew to cock that gun. He knew how to put his finger on a trigger. He knew to shoot her in the leg to stop her from being able to leave his house, to escape. He knew that if he shot her in the head, he could kill her. Okay? He knew that she didn't have a weapon. Because if he thought she had a weapon, he would have been shooting from inside the house or perhaps around the corner, like Dirty Harry style. This fool thought he was Clint Eastwood that day. Yeah, that's what I believe. I believe that he was his own. He wanted to be judge, jury, and executioner. He's a vigilante. As a matter of fact, let's look that up because I'm curious to see if he fits the description. You saw it. I'll leave it there. The next bullet point that I have on here was that why shoot her again and again and again and again and again? Because I told you I heard 5 shots. Okay? Another thing I'm going to say is this is just my feeling, even outside of this particular situation, which is, that's why I said that it's intrinsically evil, this Crimisphere, the laws in this country, the culture. It's a violent culture. It's a violent system from its very foundation, because the Constitution that tells people to bear arms, no matter what they think, you didn't have the presence of thought or the forethought to think about how this could go wrong, to think about how this will not build community, safety for everyone. It's insane. It's really insane. And it's more insane that in today's society where we know that the forefathers at least They was loading muskets, okay? Not AK-47s, not semi-automatic weapons, you know, these types of things. So we can't give them that pass, hallway pass, not too far. Don't get too far. Go down to the principal's office, okay? Because you're still in trouble. Because I don't like the concept, but I think it's so immoral to kill people over objects, you know? Even if Lo-Letha, now mind you, she had nothing to do with this, but even if it was $12,000, I personally don't think that I would sleep better at night killing somebody over $12,000. Because those things can be replaced. I cannot take back the trauma that I'm going to put up on myself for taking somebody's life. But you know, we all are built different. Some people seem to be totally devoid of that substance which makes us human. Now, I'm convinced of it. That's the reason why I call it the Crimisphere, because I don't know where I am right now. You know, sometimes I really feel like I am in a twilight zone. Yeah, I really do. It's a very odd place, if I'm being honest. You know what? It kind of reminds me of something. It really does remind me of something. Speaking of odd places and feeling like you're in some type of strange world that you can't get out of, that's what it reminds me of. Okay, let me keep moving on. I spoke about the nephew. I spoke about the median household income. I did say that regardless of him being old, he's 100% responsible for introducing a deadly, loaded, cocked, and fired weapon into this scenario. I believe that he was hot-headed and aggressive. I think that he was out for revenge and would not listen to reason, nor did he seek outside help to determine the truth. This goes back to what I was saying earlier about this being a vigilante type killing. Murder. Brock could have killed anyone, in my estimation, because anybody that came near that house after that scam call happened, the UPS man, the FedEx worker, the mailman, a lost motorist, I think they were in danger. And I also mentioned already about him appearing to smile when he was getting frisked, which, again, like I said, it triggered me. It really did. I think I already mentioned the fact that I fear that he will probably be dead before this goes to court, or not be fit for court in some way or fashion. I hope he don't get that out. And also, I fear that he still won't do that much time. But you know what? And I'll talk about this more later, which is, I hope that, I don't remember if his name is Maurice, but let's just say Miss Hall's son, only child. I believe they said there's a stepchild as well. Pardon me. I hope that he have already filed the civil lawsuit, because it's cooked. We have enough evidence to move forward with that. So I hope that in spite of your mom being killed on that property, I hope that when they sell it to pay that civil lawsuit, that you find somewhere else to live and get some type of restitution for what he took from you. And mind you, it'll never replace her. But I'll be damned if anyone should inherit from him, if he should leave this earth with anything or anything to give to anybody, because he's a killer. I believe there was, I don't remember which particular news outlet that I heard say that we did see the $12,000 that the police were counting. I also heard that, I believe I read it in an article. What's an article? I guess a news article. That's an article. Okay, don't steal my word. I need to make that into a t-shirt. It's a news article, an article. That he had wrote down some notes, I guess, from his phone call. And I believe one of the notes says something like bail money, There was one that said there was a case number 0H as in Henry 594 that $12,000 was written down, and he had wrote down Black Acura. That's the reason why I am introducing into this conversation that this should be premeditated murder. But I'll pause for a second so that we can move on to my next bullet point. Let's discuss bond. So it's my understanding that he was granted a $200,000 bond, of which I believe he had to post 10%. You know, I have mixed feelings about the whole bail and bond process. I do realize that as a part of due process in the Crimisphere, you know, in the sunken place, in this hell on earth, I do realize that you are to be presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Therefore, I just try to think about, what if you were wrongly accused? Would it make sense for them to be able, for the state, for anyone to be able to rob you of your livelihood, of your freedom, before they've proven you guilty? Okay, I'll just have to leave it there. But does it piss me off? It absolutely does. That he gets to go in there, sign some papers, and walk knowing that he killed somebody. But I hope, and I'm sending it out into the atmosphere right now, that you never sleep well, and that you be punished by God, and that the hellfire be your destination for eternity, because what you did was unacceptable. It is not something that, it didn't have to go that way. It absolutely didn't. There were so many ways that this could have been prevented. He could have just stayed in his house. Loletha had knocked, but she would have just left, and she was trying to leave. The threat would have been gone had he not got in the way of it. That's why I said, self-defense, stand my ground, castle law, my ass. He will not be able to use those defenses in his case at all. You don't get in front of somebody and then say, I'm scared. I'm scared. I get so sick of it. And that's the part where I say is racism in this country, which is how many cases can we listen to where people of a certain persuasion, you know, get to say, I feared for my life, right? I feared for my life, therefore I had to shoot. Have you ever seen somebody be so damn scared with a armed weapon as these people? It's just insane. And you know what? It's gaslighting is what it is. Don't think I'm falling for it, because I'm not. I absolutely am not. I know that it's bullshit. And I know that it's just a way of playing coy in the system, of playing everybody for fools. And that's the reason why I said that this system is so screwed up from its very foundation that people are able to manipulate its dumbass loopholes. The next category I have down here is in regards to the media. Oh, the other thing before I move on to the media about the bond situation is I didn't see what his restrictions are. I mean, you would think for community safety, he would have to be on a GPS tracker. You would think for community safety that all guns should be removed from him. And he's the reason, I'll get into this later, I think that the laws need to be changed. But we'll talk about that because I do have a law and legal system section. So the next one I want to talk about is the media. They keep saying that 2 people were scammed. 2 were scammed. But truly only one person was scammed. One person was murdered. One person was innocent, and that was Miss Hall, Loletha Hall. She was murdered and she was innocent. This person was scammed, was angry, and committed homicide. That would be describing William Brock. Yeah. So I do believe that he was scammed. The reason, you're probably wondering, why are you saying that she wasn't scammed? Well, the reason why she wasn't scammed was because she did what is a legal process. You know, blame it on Uber. And I do blame Uber. And I'm going to mention that later about that should be the other civil lawsuit. the lawsuit for money should be against Uber. Uber has a very negligent package pickup system. When I first heard about this, because I even saw some people commenting that Uber don't do package pickup. She was definitely a part of it. Some people speculate because they're stupid and because they are not in the know that Uber does package pickup and delivery, that they automatically assume that, oh, there's evidence that Lo-Letha was working with the scammers. Well, you're dumb, so we're just going to skip that part because you can look it up on your own. But for the rest of us who noted that that is a functionality of Uber, one of their many offerings, that all she was doing was her job. So that's the reason why I say she was not scammed. Because even if a scammer uses Uber service, Uber has made their service open to anybody. You can be sending drugs. You could be sending guns. You could be scamming somebody. Okay? That is all a functionality of a system that is legal. So she never got scammed. She got killed. You know, she got killed because of a scammer, because of an old man who was angry. But she was not actually scammed, because if she had delivered that package, she would have just did a package delivery. That's not a scam. So that's the reason why I just want to change the narrative. And let me tell you, the person that I heard that actually got it right is this guy.
I have so many questions. I don't even know where the to start. Here's a good place. This guy. Sorry, not sorry. Now don't get me wrong, I have immense sympathy for scam victims. My entire business is consumed with this topic. But this murder was as unnecessary as an ejector seat in a helicopter. I don't care what the mitigating factors were surrounding this moment. In the moment, this woman posed absolutely zero physical threat to William. What the
He's one of the only ones that I've seen who have gotten more closely to where I am on the Richter of this particular case. And he's the one that, he, I believe, makes a living catching and interrupting scams and scammers, okay? Which I think is a noble cause. Definitely doing something to help the people who are most affected, like old people and people who are a bit dim-witted, okay? Not to say that anybody can get taken for a scam. Of course, I'm not saying that. But we know that there is a particular vulnerability in certain segments of our population. Therefore, I do have to agree with him. I didn't catch what his name is. From Trilogy Media, I believe it's called. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested, because that video was insightful. I disagree with some of the commentators, whatever you call them, that he did this kind of slideshow of commentators making remarks. I didn't agree with a whole lot of the people that he allowed to speak on that particular video. But I did agree with most of his commentary. You know what I mean? So you should check that out if you get a chance. But I guess my whole point with this particular bullet point is the media plays a role in how narratives are spent in the court of public opinion. And they're reckless, oftentimes. They fail to acknowledge the race aspect, and I believe it did play a part, because when you have implicit biases against people and you think that people, like for instance, the guy on the phone sounds like a white man to me, okay? He sounds white as hell. And the person that shows up is a black woman. Now, mind you, of course, a black woman and a white man can be running a scam together. That is within the realm of possibilities. It's not likely. but it is within the realm of possibilities, okay? But the other part that we didn't have to, make a leap about is that if you had just opened your damn ears and listened to this woman constantly trying to tell you, trying to provide you proof that she has not a damn thing to do with this scam, that she was just sent there. And you know what? It dawned on me that this is probably the most deadly ass case I have ever heard of being a terrible listener. William Brock is one motherfucker that completely doesn't listen. Because how many times it was so irritating to me to watch Miss Hall be shot and then tortured because he shot her slowly in order to cripple her. He shot her in the arm, and I will submit to you, Your Honor, that the places that he shot her in were on purpose and intentional in order to induce more harm and trauma because he was angry. He was mad. He wanted her not to leave. And he had hoped that the police would either come and just pick up a dead body or that he would have severely wounded, if not killed, the person who had pissed him off, the person who had tried to scam him. I don't think that he was falling for the scam at the point when he was doing the shooting. I submit that to the courts, okay? But I digress. The next one is, I've kind of addressed this, and I'll probably keep addressing it, which is, I believe that this is a complete trap. They've called, I remember there was a certain president that said something about some shithole countries, but I submit that it takes a real shithole to create a war zone in residential neighborhoods the way that the Castle Law and Stand Your Ground have become. I did a gun control paper many years ago when I was in college working on my bachelor's degree. And so many things, even though it is so many years old, I'm not even going to say the number of years because it's kind of like, you don't need to know all that. But it was a very long time ago. And so much of it is still true today. Still true that the statistics do not favor owning a weapon. Because everybody knows that the power of ambush, when you're the person who know that you're going to go and rob somebody, break in their home, and what have you, you have the advantage. You don't have to be a war strategist to know that. So I'm just going to leave it there because I don't even feel like talking too long about it. But let me say one other thing that I forgot to mention about the media. All captions matter. I just want to put that out there. All captions matter. And I say that because the way that some of them got it right, like for instance, the New York Post and USA Today, they got it right in my opinion. But so many of them got it terribly wrong. But I don't think they got it wrong without an agenda behind it. I really think that there is an agenda that posts things the way that they do. And it's very toxic and very reckless. Okay, back to my law and legal bullet points. I said the strange optics of all these white people explaining away this crime. This is back to what I was saying about the police. You have all of these, well, it is 97% white in South Charleston, Ohio, the sunken place. I just hate the optics of it. And not because I, hate these people, but because there's a black woman in this town. Man, I wish she had never worked there. I wish she had never came for that package. And I know she probably is in heaven somewhere thinking the same thing. Like, damn that package. You know what I mean? But long story short, the reason why I say that is because of the fact that I just have no confidence in people that really have no diversity because of the fact that they don't understand. And not always through their own fault, but I feel like they don't understand. They tend to stick together. I felt this camaraderie when I was watching those videos where they were already in a positioning themselves to make excuses for the old man.
Down. Here you'll notice a wound on his head. Authorities later determined Brock was hurt during the altercation with Hall. Now law enforcement are putting the pieces together. They say this all stemmed from a violent scam call targeting older citizens like Brock.
Violent scam call? How violent are words? Unfulfilled. Violent scam call? Yes, he's injured, but he also shot someone multiple times. And he was injured because he was assaulting someone. He was kidnapping someone. I mean, it's just so frustrating because no matter how many times you try to explain the optics of it all, no matter how many times you try to explain, it's always going to fall on the same deaf ears that killed Loletha Hall. And that's the same type of camaraderie I have seen in workplaces that I've been in. I have seen it in so many places that I'm exhausted. I've lost patience. So you'll have to pardon me. But I have PTSD from that type of camaraderie. It's so toxic because of the fact that it's a us versus them type of thing. And when they see one of them, you know, oh, you one of us. There's this type of blanket forgiveness and benefit of doubt that is not afforded to everybody. I've seen it so much that I'm just disgusted when I see it because I feel like you'll find no justice there. It took 2 weeks. I just want to put out there for those who probably think that, oh, you know, you're a racist. Well, say whatever you want. But it took 2 weeks for this case, for charges to come up against him. You know, this reminds me of so many cases before, like the Ahmaud Arbery case in Georgia, where they assumed that he was breaking into an not abandoned, but let's just say a under construction home, a home that was under construction. And because they saw him near that home, he was a jogger. They saw him near that home. They assumed that he was up to something nefarious. And they decided to be the lynch mob. And we are getting there, guys. So this is the next category I have is psychology and medicine or medical excuses, okay? I already showed you guys, and I was in this bullet point, I said, I would like to hear about, is there such a thing as the psychology of vigilantism? And I asked that because historically in this country, we remember the KKK. They're not gone. You know, now they wear police uniforms mostly, but they wear sheets sometimes too, I'm sure. But my point in saying that, though, is that there is this anarchist, violent, something that has not been studied. It don't even get addressed in psychology. And I don't know why. I don't know why it doesn't get addressed enough. Let me just say that I think that it needs to be studied. It needs to be addressed, which is what the fuck is wrong with y'all? You know what I mean? These people who do not believe in justice and due process. It doesn't make sense, you know. They don't believe in legal remedies to problems and to peace is not something that they seek or want. It's just weird. What's wrong with you if you like toxic shit? Like, that's just something is wrong. And that's why I'm saying that's why I say that it is systemic in this country, in this Crimisphere, because of the fact that people seem to love and, you know, I mean, look at what happened in Sandy Hook, okay? And then Uvalde. If people can kill masses of children, innocent children, the most innocent amongst us, and they don't change and see and look in the mirror and say something has to change and do that change, that is required and needed, then you can't tell me shit. Like, don't tell me nothing else. Anyway, and pardon me, I guess I am really, really, whatever. We're not going to call that French either. I hate when people say that. Excuse my French. That ain't French. Anyway, will likely say he have onset of dementia. I mentioned that already. Risk of holding deadly stereotypes. Now, I didn't really talk about that much, but I did talk about bias, implicit and explicit. So I think that's enough on that topic. I did already mention that I suspect that he could be dim-witted and, would wonder where he'd be tested in his IQ. Because we don't know, some people, when they get old, the old mask the dumb that was there their whole life. He could be the village idiot as far as I know. Anyway, doctors can write to the Department of Insurance. I already talked about that. So let's move on to the next one. The next section is talking about the actual scam. Now, this is the reason why people, believe that country people are dumb. Because, no, I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Kinda. No, I'm just kidding. We do think that. If someone were being held hostage or for ransom, they would be dead by now because he killed the alleged associate. That's proof that he did not fear harm to his family member or himself. That's what I wrote down. I also wrote down that this is an old and very typical, not sophisticated, contrary to what the media said, it's a sophisticated scam. That was not sophisticated at all. That was dumb as hell.
Yeah, this is the officer speaking.
Okay, what officer?
Yes.
No, I need to know what officer, sir.
You have to be dumb as hell to fall for that scam. You got my family member. I would have been asking them all type of damn questions. Like, what was my first car? Who is his mother? Who is his cousin? What did we do at the last family reunion? I would be asking him. I would be fuck with them scammers so bad. Like, no. And the scam has been around for a long time. I think this dude was pissed. I really do. Other people, and I saw that stupid ass smirk on his face. So that's why I'm just like, no. Nope. Lock his ass up. Like they was trying to do Hillary Clinton. Lock this bastard up. This old fart. Lock him up. In regards to the scam, I said it's not sophisticated. Most people would have never fallen for that. And most people would call 911. Most people would call their family members. Most people would call that damn nephew and see if he's okay before they shot somebody in their driveway. That's what most people would have did. But you know who won't do that? Vigilantes. You know who else won't do that? Those people who just been having a hard on for killing somebody, particularly a black somebody. But anyway, whatever. Extortion attempt for $12,000. Yeah, I still say this is all alleged, but I still want to know where all his damn family members at, especially that nephew. Risk to elderly people, vulnerable people in society. Yes, scams are a risk to them, but he still don't get an excuse because if he can have a gun, then he definitely can go to jail. Because I feel like, then who the hell said that he can have a gun then? Okay? If he can't bypass and navigate a scam call that he could have hung the fuck up on, he could have hung up the phone, and guess what? The scam is over. I believe Brock shifted from being scammed to premeditated aggravated murder. I mentioned that. He was not in fear for his life or the life of his nephew. It doesn't make sense to kill the accomplice if his nephew is being held against his will and will possibly be killed. Okay. I like the way that was worded, and I still believe that. Lawsuits are coming. This is my last category. Uber failed to do due diligence on packages. When you're shipping through most carriers, they want to know what the hell is in that box. They have a way of tracing it because you got to put addresses, real addresses that line up and shit like that. So me personally, I feel like Uber is uber responsible for this shit. And this whole idea, I always thought that was stupid. Ever since I learned about that package situation, just like I think Turo was stupid. Turo is a stupid concept to me too, because somebody could go and do a murder in your car, or go rob people, or go kill people, or do drive-bys, all types of illegal shit. So why would you let somebody drive your personal car and they could do that kind of stuff in it? The other thing is, I feel the same way about Uber. You could be picking up a package and delivering a fucking bomb. So I just think that that is a less than smart thing. I do not blame Miss Hall for this situation, but I do blame Uber, and the lawsuits is coming. Uber, we'll holler at you real soon. Anyway, the civil lawsuit, I already mentioned that William J. Brock, I'm sure he's going to try to move his stuff around, his estate, but don't let him. We're going to need to get a lawyer on that. Snap. Because, yeah, we're going to take everything. The pension, the benefits, whatever he getting, his Social Security, I don't care. His Meals on Wheels, we taking it all. His rollator, his portable toilet that's next to the bed, whatever, we taking it. Yeah, even if we just donate it to Goodwill, we taking it. Since you've stayed this long, why don't you stay and have a cup of coffee and maybe hot cocoa, whatever you're into, tea, matcha, because the last thing we're going to do is visit the Comments Cafe. Come on over. The water's fine. Sounds like bullshit. How are people this stupid? Arrest and put him in jail for the rest of his life. No reason to shoot and kill unarmed, not threatening woman. I thought he was looking for a reason to shoot someone. Call the police if you think the scammer is actually going to come to your door to pick up money directly in person. Then wait for him or her with your legally acquired gun, not to shoot, but to subdue. If you are physically able to do so. Also, I thought Uber picks up human, groceries, and food only. They also do pickup and deliver package from residential area? I don't know what is with the English and writing of these people, but let's continue. He had no reason to shoot her. She was not posing a threat. A scammer on a phone is not life-threatening. Looks like first-degree murder to me. God, how horrible. What the fuck was he doing with the gun that he felt he could just shoot an unarmed person? Arrest him. Uber driver was walking away and was no longer a threat. He murdered this poor lady. I saw this on CNN last night. Such a sad thing that took place. I pray that this man goes straight to jail and stays there till the end of his life. How dare he do such a thing? I honestly don't care if he was elderly. You don't pull that trigger unless your life is being threatened. This is so sad. This poor woman must have been terrified. Clearly, she was no threat, and clearly she was trying to get away from him. If they locate the scammer, he or she should be held accountable as well. They are just as guilty as the shooter, but he didn't need to shoot her 3 times? Sad. Uber drivers don't pick up money and don't get out of the car. They pick up people who need a ride. Something just don't add up. He was being scammed. I bet dollar to donuts she was part of it. He is a piece of shit. He shows no signs of dementia. He only shows signs of being paranoid and not listening to this poor woman. This was the saddest thing I've ever watched. She was explaining herself and walking back to her car, and she was not a threat at all. I wish she was not as old as he is, because he deserves to spend. Wait a minute. I think she meant he. I wish she was not as old as he is, because he deserves to spend 150 years in prison suffering for what he did. I agree with that. Good. He needs to go to jail and rot. Talking about he had injuries to the head. How that they lady could barely walk and she was trying to run from him. This some bullshit. This man is also a victim. Hear me out. What he did is absolutely wrong, and he was trigger happy. Oh, he was trigger happy. Okay, let me start over. This man is also a victim. Hear me out. What he did is absolutely wrong, and he was trigger happy. However, she kept saying, I'm here for a package, and he said he knows they are both victims. He's 81. Who knows what he's thinking? Rest in peace to this sweet, innocent victim and her families. I hope this steps at the government level and do something about scams. The innocent people, elderly especially, need to be protected. The video is so hard to watch. Came up on my Insta feed. It was only at the end I learned he killed her. Her screams, so awful. Her poor family. My heart breaks for her. Just looking at this picture, what could have, should have. He's 81 years old. He could see that she's scared and didn't have to shoot her 3 times or at all over what he thought was money, especially when he had the upper hand with that gun in his hands. Murderer. He killed that lady after she begged for her life. I hope the judge do not have mercy on him. Any reason why he just did not go back in his house and call the police once he was armed? Watching this video and listening to her pleading makes me feel he just wanted to take her life. This is a horrible story. This is a horrible story. But people, please remember, this is our government trying to divide us. Let's not make that happen. We can all agree this was a big, horrible mistake. Get the fuck out of here. Horrible mistake. A mistake is stepping on somebody's damn new Air Force Jordans. Get the fuck out of here. I can't stand people like that. Anyway, this is the world we are living in today. So sad. He should have called the police after he got that phone call. He had a gun. Don't answer the door. Duh, I agree with that. How do you shoot an unarmed woman? Tell me about it. Like, what have we come to? No mercy, no grace, just shoot and kill. He knew what he was doing. I don't feel sorry for him. I don't either. I want the police to check those records because I don't know if anybody called his house and scammed him. Or was it an excuse to get out of what he did and say? He felt threatened for himself and his family. That was an awkward sentence to read. These old people shouldn't have guns. Amen. Amen. Come on. Can I get a witness? This is the second incident that I know of where an elderly person unnecessarily shot an unarmed person. He wasn't in any danger. She was trying to leave and he shot her and continued to shoot her after she was down. He should rot in jail for the rest of his days, which probably won't be long, unfortunately. The entitlement y'all have is wild. Prayers to her family. Amen. I know that's right. I addressed that earlier too. As he should. He had choices. He could have stayed in his home and called the police. He could have explained to her what was going on and she could have said her side. But he didn't do that. He chose to shoot this woman 3 times. He doesn't get a pass because he's elderly. He killed someone unnecessarily for his stupidity. She was a person with a family and clearly she wasn't a threat. Well, I'm going to agree with every bit of that. But also, he killed someone not just for stupidity, but I believe out of anger. I believe that he felt like he was helping the cops out. I got a scammer off the streets. You know how some people are looking to be a hero because they ain't did shit with their whole life? So now's their moment. Oh, I'm going to kill this SOB. I think that's what he was doing. I think that he wanted to send a message back to the guy on the phone that, I killed your partner. Yeah, I do. I saw that smirk on his damn face. And even when he was on that gurney in the hospital, getting cared for when they had wrapped up his head, I saw that smirk on his damn face. I know people who are old and slick as hell. They know what the hell they doing and they pull that damn confusion card whenever they need to. So that's the reason why I'm not falling for that. Y'all can fall for the okie doke if you want to, but I'm not. Okay, carry on. Donna Davis. Any reason why he just did not go back in his house and call the police once he was armed? Watching this video and listening to her pleading makes me feel he just wanted to take her life. I think I included this comment twice on accident. I just want to highlight another story, very similar story, but how it turned out very different. And could it have been happenstance that you ran upon a trigger-happy country bumpkin named William J. Brock that was the difference maker in this case? Absolutely. That's definitely an obvious difference in how this case turned out. But the energy, the mentality of feigning fear, but coming off absolutely aggressive. It doesn't come off fearful at all. And it comes off confrontational and ready to do battle. So let me let you take a look at this. And then for those who think that race is not a component in outcomes in the Crimisphere, just take a look at this at least and weigh it out for yourself.
And here's the thing, they're not the only ones apparently. Another rideshare driver says he nearly ended up in a deadly case of mistaken identity. David Young has been a Lyft driver for the past 6.5 years. He says 2 days before that incident, he received messages from a passenger asking him to stop on the way to pick up documents. When he arrived at a home in Delaware, Ohio, dashcam video shows what happened next.
How you doing?
Good, come on out. Right now.
All right.
Come on out. Get out of there.
What?
Get out. Come on out.
The man claimed Young was there to pick up $5,000 to get his grandson out of jail in Cleveland. That's according to a phone call he received. The man believed Young was part of it, but it turns out it was part of the same scam. Eventually, police showed up, helping to clear up that miscommunication.
How you doing?
Good, come on out. Right now.
All right.
Come on out. Get out of there.
What?
He says he hopes his story serves as a warning.
Let's listen to the reason Brock gave for shooting Ms. Hall. This information was written in the Columbia Dispatch. The reason William Brock claims he shot Loletha Hall. Initial investigations revealed Brock had been the subject of a scam call regarding an incarcerated relative. The caller made threats and demanded money, according to WKEF. Hall, an Uber driver, was also the victim of a scam call from the same caller or an accomplice instructing her to retrieve a package from Brock's residence through the Uber app. Hall arrived at Brock's residence and asked about the package, at which point Brock pulled out a gun, held Hall at gunpoint, and demanded she reveal the identity of the caller who first contacted him. Investigators said Brock took Hall's phone to prevent her from making calls and refused to let her leave the scene. Brock did not attempt to call 911 during the encounter or seek other assistance, WKEF reports. When Hall attempted to re-enter her vehicle, Brock shot her. He chased after her, at which point he was injured and shot Hall another time before firing a third time, after which time he called 911 for help.
I've always said that my goal with my channel is to humanize those who become a name in the courtroom. Oftentimes, when you have been silenced by murder, they forget that you are a human being with your own life, family, goals, hobbies, all these types of things that make you human. And it gets lost in the legal system oftentimes, at least in my opinion. So I just want to close the video out by doing a little bit of a tribute to not forgetting that Loletha Toland-Hall was a human being, our earth neighbors. She deserved way better than what she got. No one deserves to be so brutally, cruelly forced out of this experience. And I pray that justice will be served. I won't hold my breath, but may her family find some modicum of peace and justice, because they do deserve it. Loletha deserves it. Thanks for sticking around this long for this video. I do appreciate your support. This is the time where I probably should have said earlier, but I wanted you to just take in, my points and, the video itself. But if you would support the channel, the best way to do so is to give this video a thumbs up, which likes the content, and subscribe. It's free and open to everyone. And finally, to click the bell icon, which is to turn on post notifications. It will alert you as soon as I upload new videos to the channel. Thanks for this one, and I'll see you in the next one.
In honor of Ms. Hall, I would like to take a moment to share what her family wrote to eulogize her. I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. John 11 verses 25 to 26. Loletha Toland-Hall departed this life unexpectedly on March 25, 2024, at the age of 61, to exchange for eternal life. She is preceded in death by her late parents, Oscar Lee Jr. and Janet Toland, grandparents, Reverend Oscar and Mary Toland, Sr. and Mr. Robert and Helena Hunt, aunt, Barbara Jones, Charles, nephew, Martin Hall. Letha was born February 21, 1963, in Columbus, Ohio. She attended Columbus Public Schools, where she graduated from Whetstone High School in the class of 1981. Upon graduation, she attended Ohio State University majoring in horticulture, since she had an avid love for gardening. Letha has two sisters, Melissa and Marquita, in which they have a remarkably close relationship. They shared countless adventures, from childhood pranks to late-night heart-to-heart conversations. They learned many valuable lessons from her, and she was always there for them. Letha, the eldest grandchild, held her position with pride. She never let her siblings and cousins forget that she was the oldest. Teasingly, she would remind them that she was the oldest and they had to obey her. On February 5, 1991, Letha had her one and only son, Mario John Hall, who she adored. If you saw Letha, you more than likely saw Mario. Their bond was unbreakable. She has planted seeds of motherly love, encouragement, and confidence in him. As Mario grew and matured, Letha gave him the freedom to explore, to stumble, and to rise. Yet, through it all, she remained his steadfast guide, celebrating his victories, comforting his wounds, and always tending to his heart with tenderness and care. After a fulfilling career, Letha retired from the Regional Income Tax Agency. Throughout her professional journey, she also worked at the Bureau of Workers' Compensation, the KIPP Academy of North Carolina, St. Vincent's Behavioral Health Center, and Uber. With her diverse skills and unwavering dedication, she ventured into entrepreneurship by starting her own janitorial service. Letha loved being a member of Faith Ministries Church under the leadership of Dr. C. Dexter Wise III, where her spiritually grew under his guidance. Here, she served as a member of the Volunteers/Outreach Ministry. She later moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and continued her fellowship with Faith Ministries Church via online worship. In 2023, Letha returned to Columbus, Ohio, at which time she reunited with her church family. Although Letha enjoyed traveling and visiting family and friends, she felt most fulfilled gardening, fishing, and cooking. She was an incredible cook who put her heart and soul into every dish and was known for her delicious buttery pound cakes. Letha's memories will forever be cherished by her loving son, Mario John Hall, stepson, Carlton Reeves III, siblings, Melissa Niece, Douglas, Marquita Lewis, Kip, aunts, Jenny Gary, Cheryl Lipsy, Isaiah, uncle, James Toland, Marcia, nieces, Sydney Toland-Holmes, Martina Johnson, nephews, Douglas, Jameson and Jalen Niece, goddaughter, Taniqua Davis, beloved friend, MacArthur Tinker, former spouse, Carlton Hall, Jr., in-laws, Deborah Hall, Cynthia Leveringston, Herbert Jr., Tamaria Hall, George Wooten, and a host of great nieces and nephew, in addition to extended family and friends.
Good morning. We can do better. Good morning. There we go. So if you saw me, you saw my mom. And if you saw my mom, you more than likely saw me. We had a bond like no other. Sure, she was my mother first and foremost. So that came with the strictness, being stern, and giving me her unwanted opinions. But she was also my best friend. She was someone I can talk to and come to about anything and everything. We talked every day, multiple times a day, especially with me being out of state. She would randomly call me and say, "Hey, what you doing?" Me, nothing. "What do you want, lady?" "I just wanted to see what the weather was in South Carolina today." "Really? Goodbye." Her, "I love you. I love you too." That's just many of the different types of calls that we would have, and I'm going to miss that. It's been 12 days and counting since I last heard her voice, and that's what hurts the most. But to my village, near and far, you have all been handpicked by her since day one leading up to today. Some of you know me for years, some I've known for only a few months, some I've never met, but I'm sure she gave you the rundown of me, her baby. I may not need you today or 6 months from now, but I will need you down the road. So, if I randomly call you, don't be alarmed. I just need to talk and hear y'all's voices. To my Lolo, my Lo-Cree, my Lee Lackey, my mom. You are my light, my rock, my heart, my everything. Thank you for all your sacrifices and all the things you have instilled in me. You are the best mom that anyone could ask for, and I promise to continue to make you proud. So to end this, I'm going to read a little snippet from our favorite song that we would dance to, clean up to, FaceTime to, or drive with no destination to. It's a song called My Everything by Mary J. Blige. And it goes, "It's all because of you. I'm never sad and blue. You brighten up my day in your own special way. Whenever you're around, I'm never feeling down. You are my trusted friend, and you I can depend. So to you, my lady, I love you, I love you,